During the Second World War, not every battle was fought with guns and bombs. Some of the most dangerous missions depended on silence, subtlety, and intelligence. Across occupied Europe, a secret war unfolded in letters, laundry lists, and even postcards home. Hidden among ordinary handwriting, soldiers and resistance agents passed vital information: troop movements, supply routes, and bombing coordinates, right under the enemy's nose. The method that made it possible wasn't high-tech espionage. It was chemistry. It was the forgotten art of invisible ink. What made it so powerful was that it turned everyday objects, lemon juice, vinegar, milk, and even urine, into a tool of coded survival. This wasn't movie magic. It was the real thing, taught in field manuals, used by commandos, and trusted enough to win battles that guns never could. Invisible ink became a weapon of intelligence during the Second World War. The idea of secret writing had existed for centuries, but it reached its most sophisticated and widespread use during World War II. Allied and Axis intelligence networks both relied heavily on invisible ink to transmit information across enemy territory. In a world where every intercepted message could mean death, the ability to hide vital data in plain sight was, well, absolutely priceless. Agents embedded in occupied France, Poland, and the Netherlands were trained by organisations like the British SOE, Special Operations Executive, and the American OSS, that's the Office of Strategic Services, to use chemical inks for covert communication. Even ordinary soldiers and airmen were sometimes taught simplified versions of the technique, just in case they were captured or stranded. Letters written in invisible ink passed through German and Allied mail systems daily, looking entirely innocent. Messages were often disguised within personal notes: a letter to a mother, a recipe card, or a report disguised as a mundane requisition form. Only the recipient knew how to reveal the hidden content. The chemistry behind invisible ink was simple but effective. What made invisible ink so remarkable was, its simplicity. You see, most wartime inks relied on organic acids or mild chemical reactions. These would change colour when exposed to heat, light, or certain reagents. Quite ingenious, really. Now, one of the most common versions of this clever technique used lemon juice. When applied with a thin brush, pen nib, or even a toothpick, the lemon juice dried clear on the page. But here's the magic. When the paper was gently warmed, often by holding it near a candle, radiator, or iron, the acidic residue darkened, revealing the secret message. Fascinating, isn't it? So, why did this work, you might wonder? Well, it's because the acids in the lemon juice slightly degraded the paper's fibres, and when heat was applied, those weakened areas browned faster than the untouched surface. It's a bit of simple science with a touch of mystery. Soldiers also used, milk, vinegar, onion juice, or even diluted honey in similar ways. These could be easily explained if discovered, just spilled food or careless handling, which made them absolutely perfect for covert use. More advanced inks. Well, they used chemical compounds that reacted to specific revealing agents. For instance, some agents used copper sulfate mixed with distilled water, which became visible when brushed with ammonia. Others used cobalt chloride, which turned blue when heated, but disappeared again as it cooled, allowing messages to be shown only temporarily. These formulas were recorded in secret manuals like the British Special Training School number 103 instructions, which detailed dozens of invisible writing compounds. The brilliance of wartime invisible ink lay in its adaptability. Because the materials were common and the application subtle, nearly anyone could use them. A message could be written on a handkerchief inside a book cover or between the lines of an ordinary letter. To the untrained eye, it looked like nothing more than a blank page or an innocent document. Agents often carried small writing kits disguised as shaving tins, which contained a glass vial of solution and a fine applicator brush. When they needed to communicate coordinates, they could use grid references or simple code words that made sense only to the recipient. For example, a note might read, "Send the apples by Tuesday," but a hidden layer written in invisible ink could mark exact bombing coordinates or troop positions. Quite clever, isn't it? When it came time to reveal the message, soldiers used subtle methods that wouldn't attract suspicion. A sheet held briefly over a candle's flame or pressed with a warm iron was often enough. In field conditions, a metal mess tin heated by a small fire did the job. Ingenious, really, how they managed it. If the ink was chemical-based, agents might apply a reagent solution using a cotton swab or brush. It's fascinating, the lengths they went to for secrecy. In occupied France, resistance networks like the Maquis relied heavily on invisible ink to communicate with London. They sent letters that seemed to contain nothing more than daily chatter or family updates, but under heat, maps of German convoy routes or airfield layouts appeared. British intelligence officers, using specialised detection lamps, could decode these letters without the need for ciphers. In North Africa and Italy, Allied scouts trapped behind enemy lines used the same technique to signal extraction coordinates. Because radio transmissions risked detection, invisible ink allowed soldiers to slip information through civilian postal systems. Even the Axis powers, use similar tactics. German Abwehr agents actually sent invisible reports from neutral countries, and these were disguised as commercial correspondence. The method was so effective that by 1943 both sides had developed detection bureaus to inspect mail using ultraviolet light and chemical sprays. But field agents adapted quickly, switching inks, layering messages and hiding information in new places. While invisible ink might sound like a relic of espionage history, the principles behind it remain highly relevant for anyone interested in survival skills, field communication, or just a bit of off-grid ingenuity. The materials are accessible, safe and useful for discrete signalling or marking without leaving visible traces. To replicate the World War II technique safely, you can mix a small amount of lemon juice or milk with water. Using a thin brush or cotton swab, write your message on paper and let it dry completely. To reveal it, gently warm the paper with a candle or iron, until the text appears in a faint brown colour. For those who prefer the chemical version, dissolve a pinch of baking soda in water and write with that. Later, brushing the paper with grape juice will reveal the hidden writing in dark purple. These exercises aren't just novelty. They train the mind in resourceful problem-solving chemistry and practical stealth. In emergency situations, the same principles could be applied to mark safe routes, signal allies, or record sensitive information that shouldn't be seen at first glance. What makes the World War II invisible ink story so valuable isn't just its clever chemistry, it's the mindset it represents. Those soldiers and agents were operating in conditions where one mistake meant capture or death. They used household ingredients to outsmart trained counterintelligence officers. Their power came from understanding how ordinary materials behaved under pressure. Today, that same principle applies whether you're working in a lab, living off-grid, or training for survival. Tools break, batteries die. But the human brain, equipped with knowledge, is the ultimate survival instrument. The invisible ink method is a symbol of that, the art of making the unseen work in your favour. The invisible ink method that soldiers used to pass coordinates wasn't just spycraft. It was a fusion of chemistry, courage, and human creativity under fire. It turned letters into lifelines and ordinary people into silent warriors. If you enjoy exploring these forgotten techniques that blend history with real-world skills, make sure to subscribe to The Backyard. Share this video with fellow history and survival enthusiasts and keep the legacy of ingenuity alive, because the best survival tools are the ones hidden in plain sight.